Welcome to another edition of the eSpot with Camille. The eSpot is your location for the latest in entertainment, beauty, and design from the people who make it. Thanks for joining. Hello, welcome everyone to another edition of the eSpot with Camille. I am so excited for you guys to meet my new guest today. We got a little sneak peek of him at the Nurse Boss Summit, so that gives you a little bit of a hint of who we'll have. But let me share a little bit about his bio, and then maybe you'll know exactly who I'm talking about. So before joining Chicago Med, Lockard had a recurring role on NBC's The Village, The Blacklist. He also guest starred on Chicago Fire, Law and Order SVU, Kevin Can't Wait, Bull, FBI, God Friended Me, Gossip Girl, and among many others. You can also hear his voice in a lot of different children's books as well. I've been doing my homework about Mr. Lockard. I cannot wait for you guys to meet Mr. Guy Lockard, who not only is he from the DMV, but he now lives in Brooklyn. So we're going to definitely give him a huge, loud applause for joining the eSpot with Camille.
What's up?
What's up? So,
what's up, Camille?
Just happened. All of a sudden, just for a minute, it went whoosh. And we're back like magic.
There we go.
Paige and Dr. Lockard, I said that last time, so it's still stuck in my head to say it again. But you're not just a doctor. You've played many different roles. And the last time we really couldn't talk about it because it was in the midst of the SAG-AFTRA strike. So first things first, thanks for being my guest. And tell me, how did you fare during the strike? Because I think a lot of times it's so easy to want to give up in this industry, whether it's because you run out of money, you can't seem to get the right auditions, there's this, that, and the other. But then the opportunities are literally closed off to you because of the strike. So how did you stay motivated during that time?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me again. It's nice to see you in the space. And yeah, it was rough, Camille. You said it. I tell folks that, it's one thing to pivot or to change your career or to diversify your career or to make decisions on your own. But I think it's the first time since I've been a regularly professional working artist, which has been a while now. So that says a lot, but it's the first time where I just was not allowed to work.
Yeah.
And I think it was hard because it really made me realize how much my work not only does it's my livelihood, but how passionate I am about it and how it how it affects how I deal with stuff. I was telling my mom that wow, acting and creating is part of how I get by, how I process, how I, deal with life. It's a part of it. And I guess I didn't really realize that until I couldn't do it.
Right.
So that was rough. I'm not going to lie, but God is faithful and, we back.
Yeah.
We back. I got a couple things in the pipeline. It definitely changed my approach to how much stock I put in any one thing. Acting is what I love, and they tell you to give yourself over to it, and I just learned that you do to an extent have to be thoroughly invested in order to be successful in anything really. But maybe I'll admit I might have lost a piece of myself in it. And that strike kind of helped me realize, don't lose yourself. You have to you are more than this.
Yeah. You have so many talents. Not only do you act, but you sing, and you also narrate. So for you, not all of those were on strike. Were you able to do other projects that, now we can talk about it. Yeah, I guess because books were always legal to do. So
they were.
Wait, I'm not trying to get you in trouble with SAG-AFTRA.
I ain't gonna let you. If I'm in trouble with them, I'm already in trouble. I'm edgy with them.
Yeah, but I'm not a gotcha type of show. So even I'm wait, I don't want to get anybody in trouble. So but for you, was there other things you were able to do? Speaking of that pivoting, it's so important sometimes to realize that although you're an actor, it's not all that you are. There are other things that you're capable of and obviously very talented in. So share a little bit about that.
Very much a community man. And that's part of how I met you. is that was one of the other things I was doing. I was hired to come speak in a room full of beautiful sisters that are nurses, and never knew that I would walk away with as much as I walked away with. I don't mean money. I mean,
That's
like,
a reward for one, right?
a great reward. It was a great reward. Thank you, Tammy. I see you. But just like the friends I've made and the lessons I learned, and meeting Gammy Norris, and we keep in touch, and it was amazing. So doing like public appearance, public speaking stuff, I got back to singing a lot. And it's funny because I missed singing so much, and everybody's always like, man, you get to do this cool stuff. I did a movie right before the strike, my first feature film, and all of these cool things that are exciting. But the deeper I got into acting, the more I realized I miss singing. And to this day, people ask me like, which one do you need more? Which one do you like better? I need both.
Yeah.
I need to be able to do both in that. And so, as hard or harsh as the strike may have been, I learned a lot, man. And I really feel like I grew as an individual, having to, because you can't do this thing, so you got to face all these other things. You got to attend to all these other things. And a lot of great came out of that for me, to be honest. I've sang at some tribute shows. I'm just getting back to use my voice and just live singing, like that expression, being on stage. Yeah. And, it confirmed, like, you are a performer, boy. Like, it's part of how I get through. It's part of how I process. I don't do it for attention. So I've been singing, getting more into theatrical stuff. Again, I haven't been able to do. It's hard to do that when you're doing television or film.
And honestly, please do tell us, how hard is it to have a life while doing a series of that magnitude? Because I think a lot of us smaller actors don't really realize like the amount of like time commitment, because that was one thing I learned during the pandemic, was how much commitment, like you can't even look at other jobs sometimes while you're committed to that job. So you can't, like, the amount of money you can make while in a series can even be limited, on top of the fact that they're limiting your residuals and all the other parts that people were striking in the first place about. So can you share a little bit about that? Because it's not very often you meet a series regular and can share what that's like.
I think everybody's situation is different, but in general, a show like Chicago Med is kind of huge, a unicorn, because, I don't know about now, but up until I left the series, I signed on, and everyone signed on for 22 episodes minimum, with a possibility of maybe 25. And that's not even including the crossover episodes that you do on, Chicago Med with Chicago Fire and PD, and maybe even Law and Order. You mess around and do some, in the Dick Wolf world. So it's damn near impossible to do anything else. Because, long days on set. And even when you have a couple days off on the weekend, or which we film sometimes on weekends, if we need to, even when you have a couple days off in between episodes, that's not something you have a lot of advance notice about. Like any kind of job other than a normal 9 to 5, which it's always 9 to 5, like any job that kind of has shifts, because you're kind of, each episode is a shift, or like not each episode is in a shift. It takes 9 days to film an episode of Chicago Med, not including weekends. It takes 9 business days to turn around an episode. And in that episode, you may not be heavy. So maybe you only film 3 days, 3 12-hour days, or 3 16-hour days. But you don't know that until that episode's approaching. So you can't plan to film this other thing, because I can't guarantee, I didn't get this script until this moment. While we're in the middle of another episode, I'm doing a table read on my lunch break for the next episode. I'm like, oh, I'm on every page of this script. I guess I can't film that thing. So most companies don't have the level of insurance or the wherewithal to hire you only for you to mess with their schedule. Time is money in television and film. We have to get it done, quickly and efficiently, because every second is millions of dollars. So it's really difficult. Now, on a normal show that doesn't have that many episodes means you are filming for 9 or 10 months out of a 12-month year. So that is your life, on a normal show, I feel like most shows, if you're looking on Netflix and Apple and even network TV, is 10 to 12 episodes at the most, in general. Obviously, that's about half of what I said. So that's still a good 6 months of pure dedication to that thing. And you have breaks over. We have a Christmas break, obviously, you know, a holiday break like that. Holidays are recognized and things, but it's hard to do anything else. I mean, it's for those who had, like, I'm single, you know, no kids, but for some of my castmates that had like families and stuff, I just don't know how they, you know, I don't know how they do it because I'm exhausted at the end of a 12-hour day where I had to wake up at 3 so I could be on set by 4:30 or 5 a.m. Only home by 7 or 8 p.m. You know, and maybe you don't have to get up at 3 the next day, but you're so exhausted. What you gonna do? You know,
vampire hours, or well, like, even alternating between night shifts and day shifts.
Yeah. Oh, and then if you have a night shoot, forget it. You know, 2 or 3 in the morning, like trying to get that scene and get those angles, and it's cold, especially, you know. So I don't want to sound like I'm complaining. It's
no
exhilarating work, you know.
Yeah.
And everybody, you know, anyone who desires to be an actor would love to be able to do it. And I'm forever grateful. And I'm grateful for the stuff I got coming up too. But it is probably impossible is not a word I could use, but it's very difficult to do double duty when you're in a on a show or in a film. Because even in film, which is a more finite thing, they don't have seasons.
Right.
You know, for that 3 to 6 months, whatever it takes to film that film, you're locked in. You know, now people negotiate things. Like, for instance, Brian T, who played Dr. Cho on Chicago Med, he my first season, he wasn't really around because he had contractually been allowed to do a show called Expats, which is now on Amazon Prime. Him and
I just started watching that show. Love that show. It's crazy.
Yeah, he's plays Nicole Kidman's husband. And he had been a series regular on Chicago Med for many years. And because of that, they allowed him to do that. And I think they filmed in Indonesia or somewhere. I forgot where he said or Thailand. I don't remember, but I remember
all those places. So I don't really remember either. I know they're in Hong Kong, I think, currently, but yeah. That's
where the show is, but that's where it's set. But I don't think they didn't film in Hong Kong. I think they filmed in Singapore. So I don't remember what he said. But we used to have the same agent. So when I first got on Chicago Med, they had him. He emailed me from overseas and, you know, welcomed me and was like, hey, and sent me a voicemail like, hey man, like, because I didn't know anybody, you know.
Yeah.
So he was really kind, and he kept in touch while he was filming that show, which I thought was, you know, he didn't have to do that. He's all the way overseas doing something totally different. And he just was like, you okay? They treating you nice? Did you find a place to live? Like, let me know, you know. So, but I know I'm long-winded. He in those circumstances, you would have to like maybe negotiate that before you sign. Like, hey, I need an out is usually what they call it. Like, yeah, I'll do this show, but if I get this film that I'm up for, then during this period of time, I need to be able to do it. Most places won't let you do that,
right?
Because, you know, they need you there. But people do it all the time. People negotiate it. Yeah.
No, that's amazing.
Difficult.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you have to be there for a while for them to make that leap of faith with you as well.
Or you just have to be a really big star or a number of other things that I'm not.
All of the above. But no, that's nice. So what was it like, I guess, being on a show that had already 6, 7, 8 or 7 seasons ahead of you to jump in and be part of it? Like, did you feel like how... For a new actor possibly coming into that same situation, what advice would you give them to try to help, I guess, insert themselves quickly? I guess not being method actors, what I'm hearing a lot. People don't like the method actors.
You know,
I mean, at least current news cycle anyway.
I think it just depends on the work. I mean, listen, you get people that come on set and like I went to conservatory and all of that, and I'm actual trained actor. And I say that because a lot of people don't go to school, and I'm not looking down on them. More power to them. But I know what it is to come from training and to approach it. And then you get on set and they're like, pull it back, bro. Like all of that, you know what I mean? This is primetime television. You know what I'm saying? Like Shakespeare. But I think for me, it was It wasn't difficult because, and I gotta say, my team was strong, man. Essie Patha Murkison, Oliver Platt, these people welcomed me like, a baby. I think I was the youngest cast member. I think I'm younger than Nick. I can't remember. I think I'm the youngest. I'm certainly the most immature. And so I think I came in with, my big grin and my jokes. And, my mom always taught me to come in like a mouse, and observe. But when the lights turn on, I did my job the best that I knew how. And I think they saw that. And I just think, like anything in life, it's all humility. Like, it was easy for me because I am a fan of Essie Patha Murkison, Lackawanna Blues. She's an Emmy Award winner. She is one of my legends and one of the people whose career that I've always followed. So when I got the job, I mean, tears streamed down my face just thinking about, like, I'm gonna be working next to this lady every day. And she was exactly what I thought she would be. The minute it was still kind of COVID-y time. So all of our, actually every single one of my table reads were on Zoom. I'd ever did an in-person table read at Chicago Med, which,
oh, wow.
So there are a lot of producers who I still to this day have never met in person. I know their voices, but there are a lot of people who know me very well because they see my face. Isn't that crazy? Right.
That's crazy.
And that some of them would visit from LA or whatever. And I halfway through the season, I'd been there for so long, and then they knew me very well because they see my face every week. It was just always, there's something we would laugh about, like, wow, it's crazy that you don't know me because these people who've been here 7-8 years, But yeah, you come in like that. I do, I am curious to what it's like to start a new show and to build something new with a group of people. That seems really, like another experience. But I gotta say, when I came that season, they did a lot of different stuff. So while it wasn't a new show, and I only know this because I was told this. Obviously, I haven't been on the show. I could watch it, but I didn't know that they were changing certain dynamics of the show in that moment. So it was almost, parts of it were new for everybody. So yeah, but humble group of people, keep your head down and just come prepared. More than anything, Camille, let me just say this on record, man. Any artist watching this, come prepared. People want to ask for advice all the time. And it really is the one thing I have to say, be prepared. Yeah. It is so insulting to show up to set, not knowing your lines, not knowing people's names. I knew everybody on the call sheet. I knew the guest stars' names, and a lot of series regulars, it's not that they don't pay attention to the guest stars, but every week there's just new people and you get put up. But I tried really hard to connect, especially if we were working together in the scene in a real way. Be prepared, man. That's how you win people over.
Yeah, you bring up a really good point, because a lot of times I think people get caught up on the looks or having different things they need to do, or having the right name, or, like so many other things. But it really is important. The basics still of just knowing your job inside and out and being prepared for it. Now, you also do some narrating. So talk a little bit about that, because it's such a different world, I think. And a lot of times I think, well, at least the way I was thinking about it, was like during the pandemic, like, ooh, I can just start voice acting because now there's all these options. I have the podcasting equipment. I could just do that. Not realizing I'm still ADHD. I'm still dyslexic. So the idea of sitting and reading a book and speaking it out loud seems like a fun idea until you actually do it and try to do it. And I was in a voice acting class and they recommended sitting in a closet and just reading out loud one of your favorite books and see if you can finish it. I lasted maybe 5 minutes. So
it is tough. I've been spoiled, Camille.
Oh, here we go.
I've been spoiled. I'm not going to speak about the hardships of voice acting. My best friend, one of my best friends, I have about 3 to 4 people that I use that word with interchangeably.
Oh, here we go.
Brother, but I believe you can have multiple, for different reasons. Jason Reynolds is a multiple New York Times best-selling hit author of the Miles Morales Spider-Man series, Ghost. I can name a million books that he's won a million awards for. But Jason, when he first got into writing, he asked me, he was like, man, like, he writes for Black and brown children that, he loves that everybody enjoys it, but that is who he is writing for young adult Black and brown kids. And he said he needs someone who can speak that language on tape. And he found that a lot of the actors they were bringing him, while really skilled and with nice voices, didn't have the essence of Black folk. Not to mention, we're both from the same area, so some of the isms of being from the area, DMV,
Yeah,
County,
special accent from B-more.
Special accent from B-more, DC.
Yeah.
We're more from the DC side. B-more has even another accent that's even different than ours. But I love B-more. I went to school in Baltimore briefly, but I grew up with him, so I knew when he would write a sentence a certain way. I knew the vernacular. I knew the cadence of why he stressed a certain syllable, like how he wanted it, without him having to coach it. So I fell into it. I was like, man, I ain't never done this before in my life. Like, I don't know how to do this. It's like, bro, you sing, you got a nice speaking voice, and you're an actor. Like, get in there. And at the time, he had already met some people, so he introduced me to January Lavoie, who is a storied narrator. She got more awards than me. She is the woman narrator, like January is incredible. And we spoke, and she gave me some pointers, and I listened to her stuff, and I jumped in there. And so it jump started my voice acting career. And from the first few books we did, we won a couple what are called Audi Awards, not Audi like the car, but like Audi Awards, like Audible or audio. Yeah. And it is essentially the Academy Award of voice acting. It's the highest honor that you can win. And I have 2 of them. Me and Jason have 2. Yeah.
Hello. Got to bring the big sound effects for that. Hello.
And a bunch of other honors. Like, I have a lot of honors, and I'm not bragging on it, but it's that work is so close, near and dear to me, because Jason writes for the people, and he writes stuff that other people. Now a lot of people have kind of began working more on these books, but I won't give him the full credit. He probably wouldn't accept all of it, but he is a big reason why there are so many young adult novels geared towards Black and brown.
Yeah. That sound like us.
Yeah, and that are authentically us, and that talk about stuff. And it's not just who got shot or who doing drugs. It's regular Black people doing regular stuff, getting in regular hijinks and regular, the last book, the one that I won the last Audi for, which is look, I'm having a blank. I'm gonna get it for you and show you.
Like Stunt Boy?
Stunt Boy. Look.
It was in my crawler. I'd already like pre-written it out, and I was like, oh my gosh, he hasn't brought it up yet, so I have to have it.
I'm getting old.
So it was already. It's all good. Stunt Boy, in between time. Yeah.
So basically, the gist of that book is Stunt Boy is a character that the main character makes up, of imaginary character that takes on, and the gist of that book is dealing with anxiety and divorce and anxiety, and the way that Jason writes that book and the characters he brings to life, and it's just so colorful. And I mean, my throat hurts even thinking about that session, because everything was up, like, because it's just for young, it's a youthful book, and it's so beautiful. Like when he gets upset or when he gets anxiety, he calls it the frets, FR. He's like, oh, sometimes you get the frets. Yeah. And it's the language and the vernacular that Jason created for young Black kids who no one talks to them about anxiety. No, they don't even know what it means. That's such a big word. The Portico Reeves, which is the main character who calls himself Stunt Boy, that's his superhero name. His parents are going through a divorce, and they live in the same building, separate apartments. And the way he talks about it is so palatable for young people. And I know he's my friend and I have a bias, but I'm telling you that Jason Reynolds, the way he writes it, I just can't imagine how it wouldn't make it easier for a parent who might be going through a divorce or whose child might have severe anxiety or something to really talk to it. Just what an avenue that he created to be able to talk about this stuff that's just difficult to talk about to an 8-year-old. So I'm really proud of her.
Yeah. Huh? Even a 48-year-old, it's hard to like.
I just really, I'm proud to be a part of that work. I'm proud. I tell Jason all the time, and he comes to some of these events, and a lot of times the authors don't show up to these voiceover events, but I'm his, it's me. And he's a celebrity. Like, Jason is a celebrity. He's been on The Tonight Show and all of this, and Seth Meyers and all of this, and The View. But he comes, and we're photographed together, and we're talked about, and it's helped my career, but it's also created a legacy that I am immensely proud of, what we've been able to do for our people. Dang, I'm such a crybaby. I'm getting emotional thinking, because like, it's just like when I really think about all the stuff that's going on in the world, and we've been able to create something with my voice, and my my crazy imagination. We've been able to create something that transcends all of this craziness, all of the all the times that people tell these kids they can't be nothing, and don't focus on them, and don't give, stuff I didn't have when I was, growing up. And we have created, I'm not saying we changed the world, but like, we have made a dent in a space that was vacant, and we have made a nice pile up in it. And I'm very proud of that. Probably more proud of that than anything, any TV show that you could pull up.
No, it's powerful. And just hearing because I'd read the article, but I wasn't 100% sure what the book was about. And being a child of 2 divorces, lucky me, like a book like that. No, obviously I survived. Like having a book like that at the age when I was going through it, because I was 11 the first time around. The second time I was 18, so I handled it a lot better then. But like there was like, my parents never even spoke to me about their divorce. I didn't know they were getting a divorce. I just happened to put words together. I'm like, because we were military kids, or I was a military kid. So just all of a sudden we lived in America now. And so it was just like overhearing conversations about child support made me realize, oh, wait, he's not moving in with us.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, I mean, it was a different time. The 90s or late early 90s. It was a wild time. But, I think also like my parents didn't have those words either, because you didn't talk about grown people's business with children anyway. Like it was completely different. Like you just lived your life, and they were in the passenger seat coming along with it, whatever that may be. And I'm glad that they're making these books like this. Like, I mean, I'm kind of disappointed that I didn't know this when my daughter's a little bit younger, because she's probably out of that age group that would want to listen to this. But like now I'm like, oh, I'd love to read this to her, but she's too.
He has some books that are for older, young adults.
Oh, I'll have to look out.
That was actually one of his youngest audience books. If I don't know the right terminology to say that, but I feel like a lot of his, like another full circle moment.
Yeah.
Last year, I went back to DC. Was it last year or the year before? I'm losing track.
COVID messed up our timeline. Yeah.
It was last year. It was last year. Yeah. I went back to DC for a funeral of a man who's basically my uncle that I went to church with. And I made some stops, and I decided to pull up. I just pulled up on my old high school, and I hadn't stepped foot in there since I graduated, which wasn't that long ago.
Right. It was last week.
Yeah. It was 20,
pandemic timeline. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I pulled up, and crazy enough, some of the teachers who were teaching me were still there, which I was like, how are you even still here?
All right.
And I'm like, things are different as far as security, because all these school shootings and stuff wasn't happening when I was in school. So you can't just walk into a high school anywhere not in major cities like DC or New York. There's a security. Like they met me as they saw me approach the front door of the school. I couldn't even get in. But the woman who came out, who remembered me, I was like, hi, I'm Guy. She's like, Guy Lockard, I know who you are. Hello. She had a mask. She pulled her mask down. I was like, oh my God.
Oh.
The guidance counselor when I was there. And so they took me around all the classroom, and all the stuff. And sure enough, in the English class, they were reading and listening to one of Jason's books with my voice. And they didn't know I was coming. They just, the teacher lost her mind. She was like, I can't believe you. Like, this is incredible. Would you come? And so I spoke, and as soon as I opened my mouth, they were like, yo, that's his voice. Like, that's him. And they were so engaged in the story. They really were engaged. That's what made it so beautiful. Because kids, they be trying to be cool and all. Like, like, yo, you make that. Like, it felt like Real Housewives of Potomac or something for them. Like, it was like messy, and it was this, and all of my little whatever I was doing, they really were into it. And then it's easy because Jason's writing is phenomenal. But that was like, damn, like it's required reading. Like, y'all, like, yeah, my last year's class, this was always their favorite part of the year. Like, this book. The way we teach it, like it grabs them. And I was like, oh man, like at my high school. So, you don't get those moments a lot.
No,
you do in life. You don't always get to see impact. I'm sure as a parent, you probably you see it, but sometimes maybe you don't, and you don't know if you will, so when you do, I'm not a parent, but
Yeah.
yeah, I can imagine, like, it just was a great feeling. That was really cool.
I can't imagine any feeling remotely close to that. That seems like walking in, hearing your voice and required reading. I would come into the schools and read to the kids is the closest I ever got. And I loved that. That was a lot of fun. Do highly recommend. That's what I would do during the pandemic and free time, or even before the pandemic. That was my way of like staying in the craft in a way. Because when I moved from LA to here, it was like things were really busy. Then HB2 happened and North Carolina just kind of got shut off the map of places to film, except for like a couple of films here. But anyway, so like that was my way back in, was connecting with the children. And I have to say, I love working with children. I'm working tomorrow with children. I can't wait because they're so honest and just, I think that reminds you a lot of why you got into this industry, the whole make believe of it all, but also just being able to be someone other than yourself. So what was it for you that got you into acting in the first place? We kind of started backwards because we were talking about the pandemic first, but I'm just curious for you, because a lot of people think they have that talent, or maybe somebody in their hometown is always telling them, you should be an actor, you should be a model, but it takes more than just somebody believing in you. I mean, unless that person's Jason Alexander, then, doors come open. But for the most part, like we don't have someone like that can breathe that into us and also give us the opportunity. So what was it for you that was like, I got to leave DC?
Well, before, I had already done a ton of stuff before Jason Reynolds, by the way, before he came and asked me to do that. But I think I was just such an imaginative kid. I still do, but I had a big old imagination. And, you were at the Nurse Boss Summit and you heard me speak on my mama a lot. And I don't, we're not branding her, even though sometimes I wonder, am I inadvertently making her a brand? I talk about her a lot, but I have to, because it's just the truth. She allowed my imagination to flourish and she fed it, which I think, particularly in those days, in the late 80s and the 90s, I don't know if Black mothers were allowed to do that, particularly because my parents are both retired police officers. And, we had to have that talk. That I had that talk before any of my friends had it, because they knew what time it was, how to deal with police officers, what to say, how to stand if you're ever caught in a situation, who to call, like how to, and so I think she, funny enough, as terrified as you think she would have been, I think it was quite the opposite. She paid for acting classes. I mean, I was in karate. I did everything. I did badminton, golf. I was a bougie little Black boy. I did.
I love it, especially in Prince George County. That's on brand.
Prince George is, the most affluent Black community in America. That's what they like to say. Swimming, everything. But every school play, every church play, she's front row. So is my dad. My whole family, we pull up. My auntie, my cousins, we go to everybody's stuff. We still do. One of my cousins, he's younger. He's in his late 20s. He's an actor as well, living in New York. And last year he had a pretty small role in a musical down in North Carolina at the theater in Raleigh. Is it North Carolina Theater and Dreamgirls?
Oh, wow, yeah.
Back in the ensemble. The way we pulled up, Gabby even flew in. My friend Gabrielle, who's on Black Lady Sketch Show, who's family, and he just was like, all of y'all flew in. I'm the tree. And he was like, why did you come in for that? I'm like, this is what we do, bro. Ain't no small role. Like we pulling up, because he also started Seymour in Little Shop of Horrors.
Yeah.
And that's how, and I would tell him that's how it is. Like some are bigger than others, but it's all cumulative and it all deserves support. And like we pull up. So because of that, like I never had a moment where I didn't think I could do it until my adulthood, like my childhood. That was something I put on myself. But my mom, her whole thing was and always is, if you're gonna do it, go on and do it then. Go for it. Give it your all. Like be about it. Don't let nothing stop you. Don't be lazy about it. And so no, I just always had that go. And I had professional acting lessons and singing lessons at a young age. My mom, I was good, I was good enough and I had good grades.
And Teen Summit. Yeah.
Well, that is a funny story. 8th grade, going into high school, as a freshman, BET, Teen Summit was on the air, and they put up an advertisement. I used to watch it every week. I used to watch it, and they put up advertising. Hey, we looking for new posse members or whatever. Write in. I think I had a computer. Did we have a computer? No, I don't think. I think I had to mail in or call in because it wasn't an online application. That was.
It was way before then. Might have been a typewriter.
Nah, it's probably a pigeon.
Smoke signals.
Right. A smoke signal. Whatever it was, without telling anybody, I called in or whatever and received the application, which was you had to write an essay and why you want to be this, and and I filled it all out with all of my pertinent information, that someone 14 years old probably don't know, but I figured it out, mailed it in, and got an audition. And my mom loves to tell a story because she said one day, this is back when BET was still headquartered in DC, so it was probably 15 minutes from my house, because we lived right outside of DC. And I was like, yeah, Mom, it was like a Saturday. I was like, so can you take me down to BET on Oakey Street? It was on Oakey Street in Northeast DC. And yeah, because I got an audition for it. And she looked at me like she couldn't believe that I had done all the whatever before on my own at that age. Went down, did the audition, got the letter that I got on there. And before I was driving, it was 2 years before I could drive. So she would drive me all the way down there for the meetings, and they would pick me up from school to film things. And it was crazy. But that was my first break of any sort, I guess. My first official television job, and meeting famous people and media training and learning how to be on camera and all of that. Yeah. I'm to date, I'm the youngest posse member ever. I was 14, not even going on 15. I was straight up 14. Had to have a signed paper for every little thing that we did, and had to have a chaperone everywhere we went, and tutors sometimes if they took me out of school too long for my work and stuff. And it changed my life just being around. And I think seeing it at that young of an age in DC, which you normally wouldn't, because I didn't live in New York or LA, so I didn't have the opportunity to be on Broadway or to be in a major commercial necessarily. It's DC, maybe a local commercial, but
right.
So to do an international actually television program, to be 14 at the mall and being recognized, to travel in different states and countries and be recognized by people in Africa that watched the show, it was amazing. They ain't pay us nothing, but
wait, no, really?
Barely. It was like,
oh, okay. I was like, that was volunteer work. Oh,
I mean, it was volunteer work.
It was like independent pay.
BET gonna kill me. I think it was $30 or $50 an episode. But then once I became a co-host, I got a salary. But even that was scant. But it was a couple $100 an episode. Yeah. Back then it was non-union. I don't know how they got, to be honest, I don't know how y'all got away with that, BET.
Dude, to this day, there's times I'm like, how? Because
the union that is a network that should be under SAG. That was probably under SAG. I don't know how they got away. I think they classified it as like a news program,
right? Like the same reason, I guess, some of those, like the Daily Show was off, but some news, like The View and stuff, was still on because they were able to.
It wasn't under SAG. Yeah, I think it's something, because the truth is we weren't acting.
Right.
We were. I always tell people who never heard of it, it's the Black Mickey Mouse Club.
I mean, it was like coveted. It was that and TRL and MTV, like had the VJs and stuff. I remember growing up, we would watch Teen Summit, Yo MTV Raps, like all of that, and then like 106 in Park. I can't remember now, but it was a lot of stuff. And I remember being like, oh my God, that has to be the coolest job ever. What was it? Adina?
I was standing on stage in the video, if I could ever find it, of I believe, don't give me the line, I'm almost certain it was Destiny's Child's first television performance. They sang No, Wyclef was there. They had on these brown dresses. They sang No, No, No. And that was what Teen Summit became famous for. We used to break new artists.
Yeah.
Missy Elliott, and then Puffy was always there because he would always bring his new artists. Total, we broke Total. We ain't going there.
Be careful.
We going there.
Look, even Usher didn't say his name in that song. That's the part I noticed the most, was that Don't Bring Your Girl Around Me even asked. It was blanked out. I was like, oh, they for real canceling him. So sorry. Yeah.
No, I'm a
got so big.
Diddy's name is not in that song. He say, "Don't bring your girl around me, true player for real. Ask. N-word for real."
Oh, he does?
True player for real. Ask my Pharrell.
Oh, I thought you said that.
A lot of people, that's something that a lot of people
Yeah.
say, and I don't be fighting people on the internet, but
Oh, look.
I've been like, I'm a huge Usher and a huge Pharrell fan. So anything they've done, like that's one of my favorite songs. You don't have to call. I know it verbatim. I know the whole choreography on the skates.
So you always know where Usher is at 7:00 on the dot.
I know where he is. I know what color it is. I know where it is.
Drop top, the whole top. Yeah, got it.
Streets. Yeah. So no, it was a great experience.
That's amazing. You really have had the career that a lot of people have coveted after, to be able to go from Teen Summit to all the plethora of shows that you've worked on in between. And now you didn't mention this, but he did mention to me this off air. He's also doing these. You never know when you might happen to get entertained by Mr. Guy Lockard's
I'm doing these
stylings while traveling.
Pop-ups. Yes. Pop-ups.
So, I'm just saying. You just never know where you may see.
I'm partnered with Celebrity Cruises. I've popped on some pop-in dates. What I also didn't tell you is I'm working on a theater tour of a one-man show that I put together that is near and dear to my heart, singing some of my favorite songs, talking about life and how I came to be, selling jokes, telling about life, and just, it's interesting. You never think that I'm hearing you talk about stuff that I did, and you just, how it is. You just be working, whatever industry you're in, you just be going and doing your stuff, and you don't always stop to think like, I've done some cool, like it's been a cool little ride, you don't think about it.
This is on to the next. It's always on to the next. You're only as good as your last project type thing.
You're only as good. Yeah. And you're not doing it. I mean, I can't speak for everybody. I'm not doing it for the applause. We all love a certain amount of attention. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think that that's what motivates me. So when that doesn't motivate you, you don't wait for it. You know what I mean? You have to remember. And it's funny. I tell my friends this all the time. Remember to take your bow, bro. Like Jason is a good example of that. You think I'm bad. He's worse. I'm always the one like, hey, like you won that thing, or he did it. Like, let's go grab a drink. We ain't got to throw a party every time, but like, why do it? I don't want to be 80 something or 90 or whatever age I'm gonna be sitting around, barely can walk, and just then trying to look back and reflect and try to enjoy this body of work. Like, I'm in it right now. Every time I get a new gig, I go out to dinner. Essie Murkison from Chicago Med. I love you, Essie. She told me something I will never forget. Because, I got on that show and she pulled me to the side. She was like, what you doing with your money?
Oh.
And I was like, she said, don't be spending all that money. I was like, she said, I know you doing, it's you on TV. So I know what's up. Like, you got somebody helping you. And at the time I had already had a business manager. But she was like, because I got a guy. And she said, but let me tell you something. Make sure, she said, after every episode that I've ever done of this show or the next show or the last show, I celebrate. After every episode, not after every season, not after every award, she celebrated. I was like, what you mean? She said, it ain't big. Maybe I buy a bottle of wine. Maybe I take myself to a nice dinner. Maybe I order a nice dinner, and maybe I cook a nice dinner. But I take a moment, and it's usually, I spend some money. Like, I buy something. Again, it could be just a cheap bottle of red wine that I like from Trader Joe's or something.
$2 jug. I hear you.
But it's good. But she said, but I mark the moment because what we do is special. We get to do something really unique and really special that we have to put in a lot of work that people don't realize. Like, it looks really glamorous, but we both know how not glamorous. I was like, yeah, you're right. She's like, and you get to do it, and then you get to do it again. And like, you never want to get to the point where you just running through these moments, because life, before you know it, she's 70.
Old enough to not say her age out loud.
Oh, she says it all the time.
Oh, okay.
As loose as I may seem on this interview, y'all,
I forgot media trained since 14.
I've trained so much I make it look loose, and it is calculated. Nah, it's not that calculated, but she's like 74, I think, or 75, somewhere around there.
All I know is I grew up watching her on Pee-wee's Playhouse and love her. So
she is
been part of my life, my whole life.
She's before she even started, she's a theater legend. She's a Broadway legend. This woman can act. This woman is a beast and is a hell of a human and one of the funniest people you ever meet in your life. And damn, Like, I love her, if you can't tell. And she told me, celebrate every little win. Ain't no little wins, you know? And if you ask her, she say, especially when you Black, you know what I'm saying? Like, and that thing hit me. And so every time I celebrate, man. But I haven't lately. So thank you. Like, you got me. I'm like, dang, I did do Gossip Girl. I forgot about that. I totally forgot about that show. And it was a cool show.
Yeah, and there's not many people of color on that show, so you probably still have.
Oh, I did. I was
because that wasn't the rebut. What?
I was a sassy cab driver. I was talking trash. I was chewing gum. I had fake gum. I ain't had no gum in my mouth. I was smacking gum, and that wasn't in the script. I made it up. The director was loving it. He was like, "Yo, you're nuts," and I love it. And I was just going in, having a good time.
Oh, good stuff.
A lot of the fans, a lot of people be remembering all the stuff. You be doing these big things, and then they talk about that thing that you, and it's like, that's the thing that affected you. So you never know, you never know how stuff hit people. So I just love it all, man. I'm really grateful.
Well, I'm very grateful for you being on my guest again, for coming back to the eSpot so we could really delve into your journey, your history, but also find out all the wonderful things you got coming up. Because if you haven't booked a celebrity cruise, there's other ways you might be able to see them. So
movie coming out called Barron's Cove. Don't know the date yet. It's with Brittany Snow and Garrett Hedlund and Stephen Lang, Raul. Lord Jesus, I drew another blank. He gonna kill me because he played my partner in the daggone movie.
But it's always the closest.
It's always the closest. This is so embarrassing. Can you edit this? No, but it's a thriller. I won't say too much about it. But I play a detective trying to crack the case, and it is a ride. And there are some amazing performances. It is a masterclass. And I ain't talking about mine. I'm talking about Brittany, who you know from Pitch Perfect and from, you ain't seen Brittany Snow like this, buddy. Brittany goes in. Garrett Hedlund from Tron, Garrett goes in. And then Stephen Lang is Stephen Lang. He's just the OG. He's just, it was, and it's my first feature film. It's my first major motion picture.
Another applause.
Yeah.
Let's get it. Yeah. You got your Audi, you got this. What's going on? Yeah.
I'm trying to stay. I'm just trying to do what God got me doing, Camille. And I thank you. I just real quick, out of a lot of the people that I've come across since, I've been able to do these kind of things, you immediately just the authenticity, the professionalism, the kindness, the spark. I really do appreciate, that's why I'm talking so much, because usually I'll be out of here. I really do appreciate you and your energy, and you make it fun, and I love, I'll always come when you call. So
thank you. Oh, I'll be calling a lot, especially since I know you now have an in with the cruises. No, I'm kidding. Look, no, that was another. We talked about. I'll just do it real quick. Child, so it's. I don't
me
have.
Too.
Oh, really?
Should have known you was the only child. That's why.
The creativity and stuff, and I was like, I wonder, being able to take all those classes. I was like, well, maybe the other siblings were taking it with you.
Or maybe his parents just made a lot of money.
Well, 2-parent income could happen.
2 professionals, yeah, they did all right.
Yeah, well, they did a great job. And then obviously all those classes have paid off, because we've even seen that you've used some of your medical practices even. Just kidding. No, this is from stalking your Instagram. Whenever I'm getting ready for an interview, I'll stalk it. And there was one time you had posted you were on an airplane or something, and somebody was having a medical condition. You did not volunteer your services, but you did make sure that he was doing it properly based on your TV medical doctor education. So that's all that matters. You're able to
highly complimented by the medic, for my knowledge, I never dropped a name or said, hey, I'm, he was just like, how do you know? I was like, you just learn stuff. And I moved on with my life, but I was proud. It was just a proud internal moment of wow, you really, because you pretend all day, but you really walk away with I was like, I really knowledge.
Yeah.
It was really cool.
Well, there you go. So anywho, again, thank you so much for being my guest. Thank you for all this information you shared with us today, and your story and everything else. And trust and believe that after your movie comes out, I'm going to invite you back on so you can tell us even more about your projects that you have going on. So excited. Make sure you guys follow Guy Lockard at Guy Lockard. super easy to remember. And thank you so much for tuning into the E-Spot with Camille. Make sure you keep tuning in, like it, share it, right? If you like it, share it. And if you don't, well, then get better taste. So anyway, CamilleCoward.com. keep up with me there. Or make sure you keep up with Guy Lockard at Guy Lockard. And thanks again for being my guest, and tune in again next week. See you there.
Thank you.
Yay.